Mm, You know, through all of this, hey Daniel, I'm live.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
Uh,
that took a while. I didn't feel well.
I'm sorry about that. That sucks.
Don't worry, I don't have coronavirus.
Well, I wasn't worried about
So,
you getting coronavirus. You seem kind of like one of them folks who doesn't seem to mind being antisocial.
you would be correct. So, how are you?
I'm pretty pissed off. They dropped the charges against me, and literally, that's the only way that I can get a court date is if I break the law. Meanwhile, all these
Oh,
predators get
yeah.
away, and there's not a damn thing I can do about it because when it made a difference, people went out of their way to destroy my name, to destroy my life, to fucking destroy my physical and financial abilities and ability to take care of myself. And that's the thing is that I need people to actually speak up, but I'm not black enough for people in America to care. The other thing is I'm
Yeah.
not racist enough for the white people to care.
You what?
I said I'm also not racist enough for the white people to care. Everybody in America
People
hates
are
the
kind of.
homeless. Every group hates the homeless. It doesn't matter if you're a church group or if you're, well, see, I get to hear about how
Yeah.
terrible Black Lives Matters, how terrible their lives are. And then I look at a review of how many friends I've got that are dead. And I look at kind of things that I'm going through and the things that I get treated like. And I'm going, see, here's the thing. We can't just say, all right, well, we need to allow this because somebody else elsewhere might have it worse. And I'm like, here's the thing. The stuff that I'm reading from people they're complaining about is shit that homeless people have to go through too. But then again, homeless people aren't actually people here.
Towards the end of the month, people are kind of warming up more towards the All Lives Matter movement.
The what?
Towards the end of the month, you're more people, or I'm seeing more and more people warm up towards the All Lives Matter movement. Well, it's not really a movement. I would say All Lives Matter. It's kind of just common sense, I guess.
Well, say all lives
I
matter, or
don't know what
you're
your government
automatically a
behind this.
racist. That's kind of how it's going right now. If
Yeah.
you say, "Hey, I'm a human being too, and I deserve rights," no, you don't. They have a thing that was posted, and it basically they said, all right, well, let's say you're all going to dinner, right? And Bob goes to dinner. Bob doesn't get anything to eat. Bob says, well, Bob deserves food. And everybody says, well, everybody deserves food and could eating. And I listened to that analogy and I went, are you fucking kidding me? Everybody is not eating. Not everybody has a plate. It's not just black people this shit's happening to. Matter of fact, it happens less to black people than it does to homeless people by a lot. And it happens less to black people and homeless people than it does to people who grew up in foster care, which happens to be both black people and white people, and pretty much any other people you can include. The police have gone out of their way to outright refuse to do a goddamn thing about any of the crimes against me, have outright allowed every one of these goddamn criminals to get away with it, have outright assaulted me repeatedly, and I can't go see my loved ones to this day. I literally, I deserve a fucking bullet to the head. I deserve it at this point. I have
Need a
earned the
lawyer.
right to have a bullet in my goddamn head. I've put up with enough bullshit while everybody else's rights matter, but mine don't. I should be allowed to be shot in the fucking head.
Yeah. You do need a lawyer, though.
Yeah. The problem is that after Natalie died, they did everything in their power to prevent me from being able to defend myself, prevent me from speaking out on my own behalf, prevent me from showing evidence, and then they outright went out of their way to destroy evidence. It's been nationwide. And the thing about lawyers is that although we have the right to a lawyer, we don't get a lawyer. We get a public pretender. A lot of the stuff that black people
is in place of a lawyer.
Do what?
A public pretender is in place of a lawyer.
Yeah, they pretend to be a lawyer. They pretend like they're going to defend you, but you're broke, so they're not going to. They get paid either way. It's not like having a real lawyer. Meanwhile, I'm not pretending that this shit that's happening to black folks in America isn't happening. Like a large portion of the of the population. I understand that this shit's happening. I have lived through it firsthand. But at the same time, like, nobody is fighting for my rights. Nobody at all. A lot of people pretended to. A lot of people claimed that they would, but they just never did. And then police, they have the power to cover up their crimes and get away with whatever the hell they want in here, you know? Like, all they got to do is call you mentally ill and they can beat you up, they can rape you, they can arrest you on false charges, they can do whatever the hell they want. Like, literally, at this point, I am sick and tired of fucking being alive. I want my life to be over. That's all I want. I'm tired of people telling me they'll help me, they'll help me, they'll help me. And then all of these people that I went to for help, they wasted my time and wasted my time and wasted my time and said, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. And they won't let me do this because it's against law or that because it's against law. But then when they want to do those things to me, it's magically legal again. Like, Jesus fuck. So if the laws only apply to a certain group of people, then the law doesn't work. We have a constitution here in the United States that's supposed to cover everybody.
I was going to say something, but I forgot. Sorry. I saw the thing on your Facebook about, was it police shortages?
Yeah, thank goodness.
Is this because of the was it one Texas?
It's because police want the rights that they're taking away from us. They want the right to murder people and get away with it. They want the right to break the law and harm people. We have this thing called Breonna's Law that's being introduced. And it makes police wear their body cameras, which has been my fight since well before Natalie fucking ever died. And now that that's coming out, there's a whole bunch of police officers who are pissed off. Like, fuck you, cops. You know, you should have fucking had your body cameras on without having to have a fucking law telling you that you have to have your body camera on. It's kind of like you shouldn't have to make a law about rape for people to know that raping somebody is fucking wrong.
Yeah. Oh, I dropped my phone. As well as more laws to, stop police officers from doing bad shit, should probably increase the amount of time it actually takes for someone to become a police officer.
Yeah, as well as the background check.
Where it's kind of a ridiculously short amount of time you spend actually becoming a police officer.
6 weeks.
And then in turn you're getting a lot of power. Yeah, it's nowhere near long enough.
It's not. But see, that's all the time that you need to teach them who to prey on and who not to, and that is what police are taught today. They're taught that you can go after people who look like they're broke, and that's what's important.
Sorry. My brain's just went blank.
That's all right. I don't get to see any of my loved ones, and I hate it. I left this town in 2003 for a reason. Because I don't like racism, and I don't like assholes, and I don't like racist assholes especially. And this town's full of them.
Bill?
It's Chapel, Nebraska. Although it's a lot nicer than the East Coast. It's a lot less racist than the East Coast. I can give it at least that much.
I'm surprised that this may sound ignorant, but I'm very surprised by racism in America. Like, I live in an area where there are lots of people of, like, different ethnicities and never really experienced or even saw it firsthand. So when I hear about racism in America, I don't really fully understand the extent of it, or how big of a problem it actually is.
It's a huge
All I
problem.
really can do is just movements.
Well, it's definitely not a country I'd fight for.
You wouldn't fight for America?
I would not. Absolutely not.
Was there even in the past any point in time that you would fight for America?
Yeah, let's go back to World War II.
Why World War II specifically? Explain.
I'm a Russian German of Hebrew descent. I don't like Nazis.
Generally speaking, I don't think most people like Nazis.
No, but they seem to embrace Nazi behaviors. And then they call you a fascist if you call them out on their bullshit. Like, you can't call a black person who's being racist out for being a racist, because then automatically you're a racist. You can't call a woman out for being sexist, because then you're being sexist. I'm like, well, hold on a second. Is that really the way that it works? Because if the rules are different for you than they are for me, then we don't have a constitution. And if we don't have a constitution, then every United States soldier who's pretending like he's fighting for my constitutional rights needs to, well, pull off his gas mask, breathe in some actual fucking oxygen, and get his brain working right. I don't understand how killing people in Afghanistan and Iraq is going to protect our rights here, especially when we don't have any.
Probably has a lot to, like, societal norms. Women are more delicate, therefore, you listen to them and what they say is right, and people of color are more oppressed, so if you're white, you bend backwards, basically. I'm glad that more people are kind of recognizing how fucked up that is. Like, when the Black Lives Matter movement first kind of popped up, or really started to get like its head, there were a lot of people on Twitter specifically just spouting lots of very, very racist bullshit, mostly towards white people.
It is mostly towards white people, but it is both ways, and I'm not going to pretend it's not both ways.
Yeah.
I just get sick and tired of being told that it's my fault that all these things happen because of the color of my skin, or that my problems don't exist because of my color of skin. And I'm like, I don't know a single black person who has been beaten up as many times as I have for the color of my skin.
I don't particularly agree on the because of your history you owe me mentality. It's a very cheap tactic to use to get equal rights that probably won't hold up in the long run.
No. The thing is that I tried to do everything legally. I tried doing it the right way. I tried doing it, all the stuff that they teach you growing up when you deal with a bully that you're supposed to do. I did all of those things.
Did you get told why the charges were dropped?
Nope. I do have a notification here from Stephen E. Elmshauser, who I do not feel, not only do I not feel that he adequately did his job, I don't feel that he made any effort to do his job. I think he made an effort to bullshit me. It's Stephen E. Elmshauser, attorney at law, P.O. Box 426, Ogallala, Nebraska, 69153. This is the second time that I've had this stupid son of a bitch for a fucking public pretender. So he sends to me on June 17th, 2020. This is the day before fucking court. It says, Dear Sean, enclosed is a copy of the motion to dismiss and notice of dismissal for the above referenced case for your records. This now concludes my representation of you in this matter. I wish you the best of luck in your future. Sincerely, well, all I got to say to Stephen E. Elmshauser is go fucking suck a dick, you fucking skeezy piece of shit. See,
Can I ask you a question about
there's
the
supposed to
public
be laws
defenders
that are
act?
supposed to protect people who are disabled from exactly this. And the fact is, at every turn, they denied me my constitutional rights and my rights as a disabled individual every step of the way. What's your question?
Do public pretenders, because that's not a term I've ever heard of, do they have any training in law at all?
Yeah, most of them, the public defender's office is mostly comprised of brand new attorneys who haven't made a name for themselves, and they basically trade cases like baseball cards. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 3 black guys and 6 homeless people if you let that mother of 3 who is selling methamphetamines get off on her charges. And lo and behold, that's the way that it works.
Jeez.
Yeah, there's no such thing as justice in America.
Laws seem way too rigid.
Well, they also change depending on who you are. If you're a homeless person, they don't give 2 shits about you. But if you're a meth dealer, they'll let you do whatever the hell you want. One guy that I was in jail with in Arapahoe County, he got busted in 2 other counties, one of them with half a pound of meth and the other one with a pound of meth, and they let the guy walk right out. Why? Because he could buy himself out.
I was going to make a comment there on laws, but I don't know if it's still a thing. America's laws are very, very fucked up. Because I only have a view on America's laws from the LGBT community, and I know of the gay panic defense, which is something that can actually be used in a court of law, like a straight person murdering a gay person because of this magical thing called gay panic. Like, why do laws like that exist? Seriously.
Well, they had this thing back in the 90s called Black Rage, and a lot of people were pissed off because at least 3 black men got away with outright murdering people and saying, oh, well, it's because I got Black Rage. It's a good thing they fucking snuffed that shit. Now, the other thing is that I personally believe that black people should be allowed to shoot police officers. If police officers are allowed to shoot unarmed people because the officer is afraid, then I believe in equality. I believe that if they're afraid of all black people enough to go shooting black people like this, then yes, black people should have the right to fire back. It's called self-defense.
I don't think police officers are supposed to kill anyone, really. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they're not. It's not their job to go out and fucking massacre anyone who's done wrong.
Yeah, it's also not their job to assume somebody's guilt, and it's not their job to omit evidence. But without those body cameras, we can't make them do their fucking jobs. They can do what they did to me and get away with it. And that's the thing, is that I'm never going to have a decent chance at a decent life ever again.
I had something to talk to you about regarding your PO box, but I don't know if I should say it while you're alive.
It's P.O. Box 123, Chapel, Nebraska 69129.
I mean, I know your PO box, but I sent you something, and it came back to me.
Ah. Well, I'm sorry about that.
It's alright, I should have researched it more. You know what I sent you, right?
The can opener? Because I got that.
No.
Yeah, I do.
Before I said I was going to send you something.
Yep.
But partly I'm not allowed to send what I sent because of laws here.
Ah.
There is a small way around it, though.
Will it get me hurt?
Pardon?
I said, will it get me hurt?
Hurt?
Yeah. If you try to walk around thing, because I know that they get really, really fucking crazy about that shit.
No, it won't get you hurt. I promise you it won't get you hurt. It's more of like, because of COVID-19, I'm not allowed to send it.
Ah.
Also, it's PO boxes are fucking weird. I actually sat for about 3 hours reading different websites and postal services, and most of them do not support PO boxes at all. Like, just because of the signature thing, like you can't sign for it.
Yeah.
Not that they're making you sign for stuff anyway, like, because of COVID.
Well, they still make you sign for stuff. I had to sign for some stuff.
See, and I don't understand why I can't just fucking send you something. Everything's got to be so complicated.
Yeah, well, anytime you deal with the United States government, you're going to end up with everything complicated in triplicate.
Oh, yeah, everything's complicated. Everything's so complicated. Well,
that's how they get away with it, though. They make it too complicated for any person to be able to do a goddamn thing. If it's too complicated for judges and lawyers to figure it out, how's the average person supposed to figure it out?
See, it's complicated in America unless you are making money. I know this firsthand because while writing up like privacy policies and, you know, if you're making a game or something, you've got to describe to people how you collect their information. While having a lawyer write that up, it basically covered the EU and then never covered America at all. Like, you could just fucking do whatever you want with it, basically. Do whatever you want for it, as long as you know that people don't have enough money to see it.
Yeah, that's pretty much America in a nutshell. If they don't have enough money to defend themselves, then it must be okay. Sorry, I'm trying to readjust my computer so I can lay down. My back's hurting like a motherfucker.
Alright. I was going to rewatch the video that you recorded last time with me, and when I remembered that I could hear my own voice, I nearly fucking threw my PC across the room trying to stop it playing. Just a fun fact.
Oh, don't do that. They'll call you schizophrenic and say that you're violent. See, and when I did stuff like that, it was because people were putting their nasty cock beaters on me.
I've never heard anyone say that before.
Never?
I can't even repeat what you just said.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to say it here in public.
Pardon?
I said, apparently I'm not allowed to say it here in public. You're not allowed to curse in the state of Nebraska in front of women or children. And apparently cock is considered vulgar. But I suppose it does depend on how you use it.
Yeah, context is very important.
Right? Exactly. Like, why did the farmer cross the road?
Why?
Because his cock was stuck in a chicken. See, now that's an appropriate joke.
I don't think Nebraska would like me very much. I swear, and I swear absent-mindedly.
Holy fuck,
I get
dude.
shouted at a lot in public because I swear.
Most of the people in Nebraska curse. It doesn't matter if they're men, women, children. It don't matter. It's just a vulgar place. When they use that law, it's when they want to really put the wrench on somebody. Like they really don't want to listen to a thing that you have to say, so they'll ignore you. And then when you curse, they're like, "Oh, you're the devil, you cursed."
That makes no sense at all.
It doesn't. But see, that's the thing that sucks the most about living in the United States and having an IQ of 172. I mean, the chances of me finding somebody that I can have an intelligent conversation with that isn't completely antisocial because they have the same issues I do with basically people just suck unless you're an idiot. But then you can't explain that to the idiots because they got all butthurt and start bleeding out their manginas.
Also, a phrase I have never heard of. You're just full of beautiful phrases.
Yeah, it's colorful.
Special today. Pardon?
I said, yup, it's quite colorful.
Very colorful. Okay. I don't think swearing should be viewed as, like,
these guys,
I don't know, unholy, unsightly, unheartedly, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, me, I just
a word.
Do what?
I said it's just words.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of odd words that I use that a lot of people aren't used to. Most people, when I say neurotypical, they're like, "What's that?" I'm like, "You're a neurotypical." So it's like an insult? No.
You're a normie. See, I'm antisocial, but not antisocial in the way that people think of. I can socialize with people. I do socialize. I fucking need to if I need to go to a bank, you know. But it's just that people that I'm not used to wear me down quite a lot.
Yep.
You know, like, it takes a lot of energy to act normal.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
I certainly do. I got to control my Tourette syndrome so people don't treat me like a crackhead. I got to control ADHD. I got to control all sorts of stuff so that the world doesn't see me as different, punish me for being different.
Yeah.
But also, like me, I'm a social person. You know, when I was in Boulder, you know, I got a fucking. I don't like bullshit, So, I pretty well tried to avoid that at all points in time. But I am social, Like, there's people that
Yeah.
I like, there's people that I care about, there's, people that I miss. And through all of this, what people aren't getting is, they want to tell me about the time their grandpa died. And I'm like, see, you're talking about how you can't see your grandpa anymore. That is completely different from not able to see any of your loved ones over shit that you didn't fucking do. It's not like when your grandpa died, people were beating the fuck out of you, locking you up, and fucking slandering your name and sending other people after you, you know? And people keep trying to make those comparisons. Like, the way that you felt about Natalie, that's the way that I felt about my husband. No, it's not the way that you felt about your husband. It's absolutely not. And
That's
it's,
something somebody's actually said to you.
oh yeah, people have said all sorts of shit to me. I've had people tell me that, I just need to let it go. And then when somebody in their family dies or whatever, they fucking go ape shit on me. Like, now I can be a fucking asshole to Sean for no good goddamn reason. I'm like, what the fuck would you even do that to me for? How would you like it if I
Yeah.
did that to you? And then I do it to them and they're like, oh, Sean, you're a terrible person. I'm like, Jesus fuck, you didn't like it, did you?
Oh. Revenge. I'm kidding. No revenge.
The thing is that it's not that I want these people to fucking hurt a whole fucking shit ton. It's that I want them to have consequences for their actions. When they do something wrong to me, yeah, it does make me feel much more better to know that they're locked up. Like the guy who fucking
Yeah.
Natalie's dad, for example, Ted Bollinger. He fucking raped his own daughters. Fuck that piece of shit. Finding out he's in fucking prison in Kansas, God, that gives me a fucking hard on.
I just love the way you speak.
Yeah, I'm pretty fucking vulgar. The thing is that, like, the thing I was trying to explain to Natalie from the very beginning is, hey, Natalie, I'm being assaulted for shit that other people did. Like, she knew that I didn't do any of that shit, but she didn't want to come forward because she was embarrassed. And girls are allowed to be that way in the United States. I've met lots of women who are from uh, Europe, everywhere from, believe it or not, Scotland and England and Ireland and Germany and France. And I've met women from all over. And it just seems to me that it's American women in specific who are taught to be that fucking selfish and that fucking stuck up. Like here in America, we fought a revolutionary war so that we could get rid of royalty. And then we want to teach all of our little girls that they're princesses, and they're not.
No. No, the princess mentality is not cute.
It's not.
I don't. Who is it that's teaching people that the princess mentality is cute? Because I've. It exists in men too. I just don't know what you would call it. But
Well, here in the United States, we teach it from a very young age. We teach sexism, we teach racism. The first thing we do is we separate them into the boys and the girls category, and we tell the boys that girls are all crazy. We tell girls that boys are all stupid, and then, well, that's how it all starts, and it just doesn't end.
just control from there.
I'm sorry, there's a helicopter going overhead. It's probably about 3/4 of a mile up and about 4 miles to the west of here, but I can hear it, so it's preventing me from being able to hear you very well.
That's alright. I'll talk about something less serious until it's past then.
It's already passed. It wasn't going by very far. It's probably, from the sound of it, it's something small like a Robinson R22 or so. It's definitely not anything big. It's It's something little. But I also hear coming from the other way, there's a crop duster. That's a type of airplane that, well, it dusts crops.
That's crops with what?
I've seen it go by. It goes by about once a week because there's an alfalfa field off to the east end of town from here. And actually, it's pretty cool watching him go overhead because he looks like he's about to run into the trees, and then he goes right over the top of them right at the last second.
Some excitement.
Yep. Well, that's how things are when you don't really have anybody to hang out with or talk to. I got the guy whose house I stayed at for the winter. My trailer's on his property, so I'm still basically staying at his place. He's not really a real social person either. For the most part, when I see him, it's because he's working on his projects outside, or I'm working on my projects outside.
The can opener work? I need to know.
Do what?
Did the can opener work? I need to know now that you brought it up.
Yes, but
Tell me.
the can opener works perfectly. The problem is that because of the shape of it, and it's kind of a cheap knockoff, it won't cut a can that's bigger than. Here, I'll show you the two cans I got. Here's a little can. It's pair halves. Can you see it on the video? It'll open that can just fine. But this one right here, this one's too big for it. So I had to. It's kind of. It's choppy. It didn't want to cut. So there was somebody else in town who has a similar one, and I just went and borrowed it with this can after I got it halfway kind of sort of done, because I started on this side right here, and somebody else in town had a can opener of the same type, so I was able to borrow it and use it, and theirs worked a little bit better. But it basically has to do with the size of the lid. Like this one is smaller, and it'll actually go around the curve, but this one won't. Oh no, I just dripped juice computer. That's not good. Well, it will be a big thing if it destroys the computer. This is the fourth computer, or one of four computers that I've had since Natalie disappeared. The police are. Do what?
As long as you clean it, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I hope so.
At worst, your keyboard stops working. So.
Yeah, I got two keys on my keyboard that don't work too well, but one of them is the M. So if I have to type a word like mouse, I have to basically pound the M until it actually strikes.
See, I could have intelligent conversation, but my most intelligent conversation will probably be regarding computers. Specifically to do with what goes on when you're using the computer opposed to the components that make it.
I wish I was better with computers. Most of the stuff that I've had to learn, I've had to try to learn through text messaging, and I'm like, guys, that's like the meanest thing you can do. You know, like for me, I have to be able to have a decent conversation with a human being once in a while, and I just simply don't have those. You know, I don't get to sit down and hang out with my friends and fucking shoot the breeze or whatever. Usually, if they do have time, I end up spending my time listening to how much their lives suck, and I'm like, oh my god, your life does not suck.
I avoid doing that to people. I generally, when I'm talking to people, I try and avoid talking about myself. Because I have known quite a lot of people like that.
Well, I definitely get to talking about myself now, but a lot of that is because most of these people who offered to help me, that's all they did was talk about themselves. Like, all right, Sean, tell me what happened, and I start talking, and then I get 2 or 3 sentences in if I'm lucky, and then I end up spending hours listening to them talking about themselves and their family and so on and so forth. And they say, "Oh well, I wasn't able to help you because I got this going on with my family and that going on with my family." And I'm like, "Well, that's not my fault." Meanwhile, the police are like, "Yeah, it's all your fault. It's all your fault." I'm like, "No, it's not. And if I'm gonna continue to get punished for this shit, I'm gonna fucking make it public." And I sure as shit did. Like Alyssa Rainwater and her mom being pissed off at me. Shit, they can be as pissed off as they want. They didn't keep their word. Not only that, but the shit that they did put my life at further risk and also those of my loved ones. But I'm not allowed an honest day in court. Like, that's the thing, is that this court date was so that I could go after a Rainwater. And literally, because the police will not do their goddamn jobs, the only thing that I can do to get a fucking court date is to break the law. And I need to be able to face my accusers. And, until I get my accusers in a fucking court date where I'm allowed to show my fucking evidence, I personally believe that all of those people should either be in prison or in the ground. Now, the fact that I'm not willing to kill them means that I have to try to go the legal route, whereas they really don't give a shit. They had no problems with threatening people that I care about. They had no problems with ignoring threats against people I care about. And many of these people that I care about prove to me they just don't give two shits about me.
America's laws are very complex.
It's not just America's laws, it's the fact that we're in a fucking country full of pussies. These are a bunch of fucking skank-ass scallywags who think, "Oh yeah, if I go shoot a bunch of poor people in foreign countries, that I'm making America great." And I'm like, fuck, I'm not even gonna wear that fucking hat.
It seems like an oversight to, like, dismiss you, I guess. Like, not.
Well, that's
like
kind of the point of it.
Being in court.
If you and your buddies don't want to get in trouble for bad shit that you do, yeah, probably the best thing to do is to gang up on the motherfucker.
I mean, no. Oh, hello?
I'm here.
Oh, hi. It seems like an oversight that they can dismiss you and not allow you, like, a court hearing.
It's not an oversight. They do it with people and black people all the time. They don't give two shits. The way that the law is written, this stuff is all illegal for them to do. But if they get to investigate themselves, I mean, really, who's going to get in any trouble? You have to get the public to care. Otherwise, your constitutional rights don't exist. Meanwhile, something that most people aren't paying any attention to is I still don't get to see my loved ones. I still don't have a vehicle that I can use to go see them. And I still don't have the ability to go to most of those places because of warrants for crimes that either A, never happened, or B, somebody else committed. Like that whole situation in Wyoming last year. I got all the evidence recorded that I needed to prove that I'm innocent of that shit, but that's the thing, is that my public pretender wouldn't listen. Nobody else would listen. My rights were fucking trampled, and I didn't have the money to do anything. I haven't had the money to take care of myself since before Natalie was killed.
Speaking of that, after this call, or if you stop streaming, I want to talk to you about that.
All right. You know, I just got my disability money back 2 months ago, so I'm just now starting to be able to put together the shit that should have been done years ago. I mean, this should have been taken care of before Natalie was killed. And that's the only reason that I was willing to fucking jump through all the bullshit and all of the fucking harassment and all of the threats and all of the bullshit that I had to go through in order to fucking get my diagnosis and get all of that other stuff that goes along with it. The only reason that I was willing to go along with all of that bullshit is because I was promised by these people that they were going to help me if I did that. And then when I jumped through all their hoops, they're like, oh, well, that's not our job. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It's nobody's job. The cops aren't going to investigate Jen Beebe. Jen Beebe isn't going to do a goddamn thing about the cops. Meanwhile, she's still pulling the same bullshit as Jeff Ritter and Kara Heller. Oh, well, it's against our policy. Fuck your policy. Your policy is supposed to be my fucking safety. It's kind of like, I guess you guys call him a GM there. But when you go to your GM and you say that there's an issue and your safety is at risk, like your GM is supposed to listen to you, right?
GM, that's an abbreviation of, do you know the full name for it?
Do what?
The GM sounds like an abbreviation or
yeah, well, that's.
Do you know the full name?
That's the only thing that I've ever heard it described as. There's a lady named Anna Moomin, and she's autistic. And I could get it wrong because I'm not trying to make fun of Brits for having a different accent, but her accent is a little bit beyond me. So I don't know. It's her medical professional person that she's got to go talk to.
See, when I turned 18, pretty much, I think they make you jump through a fucking lots of hoops to like get representative again. Like once you turn 18, they're just kind of like, well, you're your problem now.
Yep.
Again, from what I'm not gonna fucking. I'm very privileged because I've always had someone manage my life for me, basically. But from what I know that it is incredibly hard to get someone to review as an autistic when you're an adult. So, GM, I'm trying to think what that could be.
Maybe it might be GP.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, I know what GP is.
Yeah.
We're on the same page now.
I have problems with names and numbers, so abbreviations like that I might not get right. I'm glad I got it right finally. But see, when I have that issue, then people assume that I'm lying to them. Like I wasn't trying to lie to you about a GM. I was trying to get the point across, but I didn't get the name right. So then you were confused. I didn't get the name right. Meanwhile, lots of people get the name wrong. So I'm not the only one.
It's general practitioner. That's what it means. If that helps any at all.
General practitioner. That would be like a nurse's practitioner here, except probably of the doctor sort, I would assume.
Yeah, it's kind of just like I don't know, like a full-on doctor because they don't really help you with very much. They kind of just
refer you to someone else.
You have autism.
Ah.
Pardon?
So I was going to say they generally just refer you to someone else, but
yeah, if you have like a GP that represents you as someone, who's got autism, it's much easier to get places. There's usually, because healthcare is free here, when you try and do something, there's usually like a long wait for it. But basically, the more privileged you are, the earlier you're diagnosed, the easier it is to push yourself up that list, I guess, and get seen quicker.
Yeah, that's how it is here too. We all contribute money in so that the government can spend all this money on all of this new modern medical technology, and then the only people who are allowed to have access to that medical technology are the rich. If you're not already rich, then you don't get access to those, well, the expensive machines that we all pay for.
In the UK, like, private hospitals are. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say a private hospital?
The very first privately owned hospital in the United States, and also privately funded, was hold on a second, LaFleche family. That's a Native American family here, and they started the very first privately funded hospital in America.
Ah, so when was that?
Um,
That was like a
that was back in the 1800s.
right. So
Yeah.
private hospitals. Generally, you'll find our free healthcare system is better than most private hospitals. Here, if you go private, it's mostly just for like extremely specific treatments, or like if you're getting a cosmetic surgery done. Apart from that, anything that's actually going to help you, like your main hospital is much better. That had a point, and I've completely forgotten it.
Here we don't really have hospitals necessarily like that. I mean, we don't have what I would consider public hospitals. I mean, all hospitals really are public, but then there's the fact that they're all privately owned, they're all privately subsidized, as well as subsidized from our government. So although they're privately owned, every one of them, they all get money from our government for jobs that they're not doing.
Oh, I remember the point. I was going to say, well, like, taxes are at least going towards useful things like new healthcare techniques. Here, it's kind of just wasted, I guess. Like, a lot of money is put into stupid things like building speed cameras where there's already 4 of them, and we redo roads a lot here.
We do that non-stop here.
A lot of money into redoing roads that have just been done. Like, perfectly fine, let's dig it up and do it again because we've got money to spend. Like,
they do the same thing here.
The more they get to be spent, so they're just wasting it on shit.
That's how it works here, especially with jails. Like, it's not just the roads. Like, the jails, they want that money next year, so they need to be able to keep it at a certain percent capacity. If they want to get more money they can fleece out of the public, then they have to keep it at that capacity for a certain amount of time before they're allowed to build new jails. And really, if you go arresting a bunch of innocent people in houses, their families are going to make a big fucking mess of it, and they're going to be pissed off. That's why they go after homeless people.
God, where do we run my money?
My personal belief is that assisted suicide should be legal in cases like this.
I think it's legal in Sweden. I kind of agree with you there.
Well, I'm not allowed to leave the country. Otherwise, I'd have gone to see. People told me that when Natalie first disappeared, I'd already had people tell me I should go to Sweden, and some other people told me Denmark, but I don't think Denmark does. But like here in the United States, they have assisted suicide, but not if you're what's considered mentally ill. Do what?
You probably need to jump through the hoops of becoming a citizen on any of them places, though, which would probably end up costly as well. So it kind of all comes back down to, do you have enough money?
No, I don't. And no money means no rights.
Yeah. Sort of shit, man.
Yep.
But I guess all I can do is just try and make it better.
Well, you know what? When Natalie first disappeared, it was a lot of people against me, and now the whole point is that I don't have anything worth living for anymore. I don't have a family. I don't have friends in real life. I don't have people that I hang out with and do positive shit with. You know.
If I was allowed to leave, I would. Trust me.
That's
I wish
right.
I could do more.
Well, shit, just talking to me is better than most. Most people just want to text me, and then they want to get pissed off when I'm like, hey, texting literally makes me want to eat a goddamn bullet. Sean, don't say that. Okay, now you're telling me not to be honest.
I prefer you be honest with me.
Right? And see, I'd prefer to be honest with everybody, but that just ain't the world we live in.
I do have like a much more, I don't know the right word for it, the submissive personality type. Like, so if you want to call literally at any time, just say so.
I used to be a lot more submissive. It was when I left Virginia that I couldn't afford to be submissive anymore. I couldn't afford to just take people's abuse. Before that, if I had to deal with that kind of abuse and bullshit, I'd just move elsewhere. I'd be like, you know what? Pearl Street right now, I got to deal with a bunch of drunks and alcoholics and meth heads. I'd rather go hang out at the library or go better hang out at Eben G. Fine Park or someplace like that. But like here in Chapel, Nebraska, there's none of that.
No parks, no libraries, nothing.
Well, Chapel, Nebraska has like 500 people live here. We have a library, but the library is pretty much shit. And anything that you're going to get from the library, you're probably better off getting the internet elsewhere because that's about what you're going to get at the library. And even there, the internet doesn't work. I haven't gotten the internet to work there in like 3 years.
Nebraska does seem like it's in the middle of like up from nowhere from how hard it is to like ship things to Nebraska.
Yeah.
So I could.
We call it bumfuck Egypt, although it's nowhere near Egypt. Bumfuck Egypt or B-fucking E.
Why do you just call it that?
Because it's the middle of fucking nowhere.
I can get it now.
Actually, most of the.
If I'm honest with you, I'd much rather call and get to know someone than text them and have anything I say misconstrued. What's the word? Like a bit like misconstrued?
Misconstrued?
Yes.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing I've been trying to explain since the beginning. And a lot of people were typing shit at me like, oh, yeah, Sean, I completely understand. I completely understand. And then they would literally do nothing but text me. And I'm like, you know what? The most suicidal fucking point that I ever got to was fucking in jail. But that's over those son of a bitches doing illegal shit. But the thing is, that texting, I mean, every time I explain to somebody about the texting, they want to text me about texting. I'm like, well, see, that's the thing. I'm trying to have a conversation here. It's not a conversation if it's in texting, and it's not a conversation if only you get to speak or only you get to have an opinion. And then there's also the people that said, hey, Call me, I'll listen. I'll listen. And then I call them up and they're so busy talking over me. I'm like, that's just fucked. The thing with Alyssa Rainwater and Mandy Hughes that they're all pissed off about is the things that they swore up and down they were going to talk to the police about, and swore up and down they were going to do this, and swore up and down they were going to do that. And, every time somebody breaks their word after I've spent all of my resources trying to jump through the hoops that they wanted me to jump through in order to get them to keep their word. Sean, if you do this, then I'll do this. Sean, if you do this, then I'll do that. And then I jump through those hoops and nothing fucking happens. I'm like, you didn't show up in court like you said you would. You didn't fucking speak up like you said you would. Well, I'm afraid my kid's getting targeted. Well, maybe you should have thought about that first. Maybe you should have thought about yourself getting targeted. Maybe you should have thought to yourself, well, maybe if Sean is being targeted and I don't want to be targeted, maybe I shouldn't get involved.
Yeah, the worst part's not that they didn't do it, but that they said they would do it and didn't do it.
Yep.
I guess.
And see, most of these people, they're not even bad people, They're just people who are too busy getting, some of them are too busy getting fucked up on drugs or alcohol. Some of them were too busy trying to get laid. And some of them legit had illnesses going on. And the thing is, most of them weren't interested in helping me at all. They were interested in getting involved in Natalie's case for the notoriety and for the attention. And I'm like, Jesus fuck, see, I never wanted this attention.
Yeah.
Without this attention, I would be able to go down and see my older brother. And I would be able to fucking see Mobley. I'd be able to go see Christine. I'd be able to go see all these people that I don't get to see. Of course, most of them stabbed me in the back, so are they really worth going to see? It doesn't matter. Eric's my older brother, and I love him either way.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say is, if you do hate texting, then I'll probably have to apologize for bombarding you with fucking text yesterday.
That's all right. A lot of people bombard me with text. At least you understand it bugs me now. A lot of people, I explained it to them 100 times. Shannon Alvarado, literally 100 times or more.
My problem is I'm not very assertive. Like, I'm very much someone who should be told what to do. So if I do want to call, I'm not the kind of person who's just going to come forward and say, call me, do it.
I will, but then I get treated like shit for it. So, I mean, really, at this point, everything that I do is wrong. No matter what I do, I'm punished. No matter what I do, I can't go see my loved ones. So I'm like, what the fuck am I even doing here? All these people protecting child molesters and rapists and shit like that. I'm like, fuck, I protected you from that son of a bitch, and I'm the one who got stabbed in the back for it. Thank you, Amy Witcher.
Someone chat?
Do what?
Someone chat?
Someone in chat? No. Amy Witcher is, her and her husband were involved in probably about 5 or 6 different situations, or more, between when I went to Chesapeake, Virginia to see Natalie, and when I found out that Andrew was molesting his stepdaughter. Yeah. Of course, I was in Washington State when his wife called me up and said, I kicked Andrew out. I got a new dude that I'm trying to get together with, and I need a babysitter. So, I was in Washington State at the time. I got in my vehicle to come down here because she didn't have anyone to do any babysitting. And then turns out that her druggy boyfriend or husband or whatever, Andrew Witcher. First of all, you don't fucking touch your daughter that way, or your stepdaughter. You don't touch anyone's fucking kids that way. And second of all, you don't go asking somebody for help and then fucking play victim. That's fucked up. Of course, I'm used to that. That's literally what we treat woken girls to do here in the United States. We train them that if they don't get what they want, get your friends involved. Your friends will get their boyfriends involved, and then it's all fine because you automatically win. I'm like, that is so screwed up. No, women need to be held as accountable as men. You want the same rights as men, you need to be held as accountable. Also, I'm a pretty small dude. Most of the women I know are bigger than I am.
You're small? What height are you?
I'm 5'9".
Oh, you're not that small.
Well, not compared to the Tudors. Their average height was only 5'3".
Pardon?
I said, compared to the Tudors, I'm tall. The Tudors were only on average of about 5'3". That's why the castles made during the Tudor period, everybody has to duck through.
I'm 6 foot. I'm fucking huge.
Right?
I'm huge, but built like a stick.
Well, here in Chapel, Nebraska, like, we have some very, very beefy women. I don't know how to say that without coming across as sounding insulting, like I'm trying to be an insulting person. They're not little women. I went to, they have this, because in small towns, you don't really have class reunions because they're so small. So you basically just have a reunion thing once a year. And I went to the one down here, and I realized after going into the establishment, it was the bar down here, that all of the men looked pregnant. I was the only dude in the whole place that did not look pregnant. That's Nebraska. Do what?
Because of weight?
Because of weight, yes.
They were fat?
Yes, they were. But it's not just fat. Like,
you don't want to say it.
when I was fat, I was fat in two different ways. First, I was the fat where I had a big old bubble butt and I had a big old belly that hung over. But I also had like the side flabs that hung over, you know? And these guys don't get that. They get like this. It's like they took a big globe and stuffed it underneath their shirt. It's bigger than a basketball by a lot.
I know what that is.
Yep.
Beer belly. Alcohol.
Yep. And Nebraska, we import so much alcohol. One guy that I know, all right, I can't say one guy that I know. There's probably a dozen people I know in this town. They blame everything on blacks and Mexicans. They're broke because of blacks and Mexicans. There's no blacks or Mexicans here. And they're buying a 30-pack of beer every single night. Like, yeah, that explains why you look pregnant, and it explains why you're completely fucking broke. And then they're like, Sean, if you do this and if you do that, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're drunk. I'm not. I think I'm the one here that should probably be heard.
I used to be a farmer. I used to be 200 pounds. I don't really so much because I'm tall. I'm around 45 now, so.
I was 5'1", 184 pounds at my heaviest.
This is a weird question, but was it just lack of exercise?
No, it was I want to say I was on Risperidol at the time. So the medications.
Also,
I had some nice boobs too. You're laughing like I'm kidding. I'm not. Risperidol will give you It'll give a man breasts. You'll actually start to lactate.
Fun fact as well, men put on weight in places that would look better in women. We get the chunky ass, chunky thighs, and man boobs.
Yep. Well, also,
It's
like
because of our hormones.
when you
Hormones
give
dictate.
when you give medications like that to a kid, like I was a kid when I was on that stuff, it changes your physique for the rest of your life. Like it'll change your uh like I can't have full pectoral muscles.
You can't what?
I can't grow full pectoral muscles.
Ah.
I grow boobs.
It's really strange that they prescribe you a drug that changes your anatomy.
Yeah, it is. It's also weird that they give children medications that are known to kill people because those children make funny noises that don't hurt anybody.
It's very stressful if you're like you get bullied for having a tick of some sort or Tourette's, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
I know that one firsthand.
I used to go, and that's how they found out I had Tourette syndrome. But I also know that vocal tics are only in 30% of Tourette syndrome cases, and only 5% of that 30% are the ones who have the situation where they curse. So then I end up, like, right after Natalie died, people were like, oh, well, you know, he curses because he's got Tourette syndrome. He can't help it. I'm like, God, you guys are fucking ignorant. I know you're trying to help, but yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah, I think the version of Tourette's where you swear is not like incorporating swears in a normal conversation. Normally, like it's more of you say things that you know you're not supposed to say.
Yeah, there was a girl I was locked up with who had to say the N-word. She couldn't help it. And
Yeah.
like with me looking at that situation, like me when I go, that's not something that I can help. And sometimes I'll do it without even noticing. A lot of times with my wrist or with my eyes, I'll do that without ever even noticing. With her, it was like everybody had to be afraid for her at all points in time because, you know, especially when you're in a facility locked up with minors, or not locked up with, not minors, but minorities, because we were all minors. You can't use that word. You'll get your ass beat.
I really feel for anyone who has that kind of Tourette's because it must just wreak fucking havoc on your life. I watched a video of this guy walking through an airport with Tourette's, and he makes fun of it. Like he has Tourette's and he's very lighthearted about it, but I'm sure it fucks him up a lot. And he's just walking through the airport shouting, "I have a bomb!" Like guards around him. I can't imagine that. Like I got bullied for a tick, but oof. I still wouldn't say medicate someone for having that kind of tick, though. Like it is inherently harmless. Like
It is.
much less a child being harmed, like medicate for it.
That's the thing that's difficult to explain to people. Like here in the United States, pretty much everything that we do as far as medical anything goes is just to stuff pills on top of somebody. And as a result, like the United States goes through 70% of the world's pills, and we go through 75% of the world's opiates. So,
is that all just prescribed to? It's just like a general fix it.
yep. Your leg is fucked up. Here's some opiates. Good luck with your addiction when we don't wean you off of it and won't give you more. Most of my friends here who ended up dying of heroin, they didn't even start off on heroin. They started off with a back injury or a leg injury.
Here we have methadone, and that's like our junkies' drug of choice, methadone. And it's perfectly legal and quite easy for them to go in and get a fix of methadone. Like, I don't think giving a drug addict drugs will help them. I think you should invest more in a healthcare system that would get them the support to get off the shit.
Yep. Well, a lot of that, by the time they get on the methadone, because we have methadone clinics here in the United States, and by the time they're going to the methadone clinic, like they have to go daily, and if they don't go daily, it literally will kill them. And you can usually tell when it do what?
Sorry, I don't mean to speak over you. The withdrawal symptoms can be like incredibly like volatile.
Oh yeah, we're talking about seizures, biting your tongue off, all sorts of nasty shit. Yeah, quitting that stuff ain't easy.
I know what you're talking about.
But that's another thing. Like I grew up on government pills, and as an adult, I decided not to take them. And every time that I've had an issue as an adult, it's been because of those fucking pills. They're like, oh, well, you have to take these pills or we're not going to help you. I'm like, I don't need pills. I need help. You know, how is drugging me so that my brain doesn't function? How is that going to help me? How is that going to help me get the money that I need to survive? How is that going to help me to fix my back? How is that going to help me at all?
Yeah, prescribing drugs or something is just like telling people to live in blissful ignorance because they're too fucked up to even know what's happening.
All right, my phone, there's a train going by too. My phone is about dead. I'm going to need to charge it up for a bit. Can I call you a little later?
Sure.
Or you? All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, see you.
Bye. Well, I don't even remember what this video is supposed to be about. So, time to end it.